Hello everyone and welcome. This is Dawn. I'm so glad you could join me. I've been making Halloween cards all month long to share with you, and well, sadly Halloween will be coming to an end next weekend. So I'll have this card and one more to share before I switch over to Christmas. Today I'm using the Hey Boo stamp set that comes with 3 images and 5 sentiments, along with my favorite Halloween die, the Boo die set. It has 5 ghosts and the word Boo in it. And yes, it's my absolute favorite. And well, I was in the mood to use my distressed texture paste again, and I'm going to pair it up with the brick pattern stencil, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite stencils. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is put the distressed texture paste on so it has time to dry while I make the rest of my card. I'm going to spray it with some pixie spray. Make sure to shake it really well, and this will help the stencil to stay in place while I put my texture paste on. I spray it on the back side and then I let it dry for about a minute. Then I lay it on top of a piece of white cardstock cut to 4.5 by 5.25 inches, and I press it down really good to make sure it stays in place. I'm going to use my Distressed Texture Paste matte finish, and I'm just going to take my spatula and just spread it all over the stencil. Now you don't need a lot of it. I'm just basically spreading it in the middle of the stencil. You can put as much or as little as you want. I didn't want it to go all the way to the edge of the paper. I wanted to leave like a white border around the brick stencil when it was dry. And once I have it all spread over the stencil, I use my stencil pal and I make one swipe in a downward motion to take any excess off, and then I put the excess back in the jar. I'm leaving the stencil on while it dries, but you can take it off and then put it back on. You just have to line it up where it was. As long as you don't let the stencil dry too long on it, it washes off no problem. Now I'm going to stamp my images out. Since I'm going to use my brother's scan and cut, I like to stamp a few images and then save them for future projects. So that's what I'm doing here. I like to cover my whole paper with images. This saves a lot of time because the next time I go to use the stamp set, I already have my images cut out, so it makes it so much easier. Now I'm going to do some really quick Copic coloring. I don't really do anything fancy, so I'm just going to go through the colors really quick. I used V06 for the outer edge of the glass, and then I do the middle of the glass with V04. I use C1 Cool Gray to put a little bit of shadowing around the ghost's body. You can put it anywhere you want shadowing. Then I put some C3 in the ghost's mouth, and then I add some C5 for shading. I add some R11 Pale Cherry to the ghost's mouth, and then I add some C5 for the wine glass stem. I color the outer edge of the tombstone with some C7 Cool Gray, and then I bring in some C5 and I blend it with the C7, and then I blend those two colors with the C3 Cool Gray. I use some C1 Cool Gray for the ghost's eyes. I use some C7 where the eyelid starts, just to accent it, and then I color the inner part of the eye with some C1, and then that's going to complete my image. Now I'm going to die cut the word Boo from some black cardstock, and then I'm going to set those aside for later. Now I'm going to do a little bit of ink blending onto the stencil over the texture paste. If you took the stencil off, be sure to put it back on at this point. I just go over the paste with the Distress Oxide Hickory Smoke color until I have the desired darkness that I want. And then when I'm done ink blending, I take the stencil off very gently. I just love how it came out. I think it came out perfect. I'm going to die cut my ghosts from some white cardstock. I use these so much, I just die cut all 5 every time, and then I just save them for later. Now I'm just going to trim my stencil paper down. I made myself a quick sample so I knew how much I wanted to trim away. I ended up making the top half 3¼ inches high by 3 7/8 inches wide. And for the bottom, I cut it to 1 inch high by 3 7/8 inches wide. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment, so I line everything up on my card where I want it to go, and then when I have it in the right spot, I close my MISTI, and then I just take everything off except the gray paper, and then I stamp the sentiment in black ink. I adhere a piece of white craft foam to the back of both stenciled papers, and then I adhere them to a piece of gray colored cardstock. I put foam tape on the back of the ghost, and I adhere him to the front of the card. And then I put glue on the Boo sentiment and one of the ghosts at the same time, and I adhere it to the front of the card. Then I adhere the other ghost hanging out of the letter B, and I just press them down really good so they adhere to the texture paste. Finally, I use This Calls for Confetti black matte, and I'm going to adhere a few to the card front with my liquid glue and my jewel picker. And then to finish off the card, I am going to adhere the card front to an A2 size card base. I think the card came out great, and I just love the stenciled background with the texture paste. I think it makes the brick pattern look more real with the raised paste on it. Okay, so this is going to complete my card for today. I want to thank you for joining me on the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel. I would love for you to leave a comment below and let me know what you think of the card. Be sure to subscribe to the Whimsy Stamps YouTube channel and their other social media platforms so you don't miss out on any upcoming releases and great inspirational videos. Also, check out their website for all their new releases. And as always, thanks for stopping by and have yourself a wonderful day.